Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm helping you level up your communication skills. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome aboard. And be sure to join me 3 times a week to discuss cool topics like public speaking, storytelling, creativity, and much more by hitting that subscribe button right on below. At today's episode, we're entering the world of creativity, and we're going to be breaking down how entrepreneurs think. I used to love the World Wrestling Federation growing up, at WWF. I used to watch it before it was called WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. And most of the other kids in my school, they too were obsessed with wrestling. Something about it, the theatrics, the storylines, the fighting, it was awesome. A lot of kids, especially 90s babies, would watch the World Wrestling Federation. But eventually, a news started to break down that the WWF, a lot of the fights were staged. In the initial stages, I was like, nah man, this is just gossip. These people don't know what they're talking about. But eventually, more and more evidence came from my fellow classmates that proved that WWF was staged. And what was once a very cool thing to watch suddenly became uncool in my school. If you were someone that watched wrestling, then you were very late to the party. You were ignorant. You didn't know that it was staged. So for the next couple of years, I didn't watch wrestling. I lost a lot of a passion towards it. Well, as more years went on by, I started to delve into clubs like Toastmasters. I started to check out different improv clubs to see how people speak in front of the mic. And as I started to do this part of my life, started to get more curious, a part of me started to go down memory lane. I remembered when The Rock used to be on the mic and he used to have all his taglines. I remember Stone Cold rocking the mic with so much charisma, so much sharpness. The Undertaker. And as I was doing Toastmasters and improv, I started to appreciate wrestling a little bit more. Because even if you did call it staged, there were other things that were involved in their craft. Sure, fighting was just one part of their craft, but they also had to stay updated with acting, with speaking live in front of a lot of people without messing up. And there were just a lot of other variables that were involved, which made me appreciate wrestling in my mid-20s again. And as I was watching wrestling again in my mid-20s, I came to realize that most of the wrestlers I used to grow up with had left. Stone Cold left, The Rock left, Hulk Hogan left. But there was one wrestler that was still there. His name was Triple H. Why are you still here? How come you didn't leave WWE as well? Why didn't you do something else with your life? And he's answered this question many times in different interviews. And normally, here's what he says. He says, I love this business. I love everything about it. From the back end part all the way to performing in front of the crowd. He's someone who really loves the business so much to a point that he's constantly self-educating himself on it. He remains extremely curious in regards to the craft of WWE. And normally Triple H, he gives a lot of credit to the CEO of WWE, Vince McMahon. Triple H is like, well, if you think I'm a hard worker, wait till you meet Vince. Vince is someone who really loves the business. He thinks like an entrepreneur. How does he exactly think like an entrepreneur? What do both of these individuals have in common? Well, before I tell you what they have in common, let me share what they're different in. If you break it down, in this situation, Triple H is actually an employee for WWE, while Vince McMahon is a CEO. Traditionally, when we're thinking of entrepreneurs, we're thinking strictly of someone who's a CEO. So in this situation, they're different. One is the talent and one is the conductor of the talent. Yet, Where they're similar is their entrepreneurial tendencies to always remain curious. And what does curiosity have to do with it? Now, curiosity seems extremely intangible. How is this leading towards altered behaviors? It's leading towards altered behaviors because for both of these individuals, how do you think they've been in a certain business for so long and still they say stuff like, I'm just learning the business right now. It's like every single day I'm learning something new. Why do you think that is? It's because all businesses are extremely complex systems, and complex systems never remain in one state for a long period of time. They're always constantly evolving. So with Vince McMahon and Triple H staying in this complex system of WWE for such a long period of time, they're constantly learning more and more, cross-combining different fields. And this whole cross-combining thing is just going to naturally happen as long as they remain curious. The modern entrepreneur, it's extremely imperative that they are systems thinkers. They're not reductionist thinkers. Reductionist thinkers are people that get everything, break it down into their individual components, and understand each of the individual components. And they're like, okay, now when we put it back, we understand the whole extremely well. While systems thinkers are different. They look at the whole first, they understand the individual components, but it's a layer further. The further layer is that, and this part is extremely important, they try to understand the links between each of the components. This is why curiosity can serve as a compounding effect. And the more that it serves as a compounding effect, the more that the systems thinking develops. Systems thinking is one of those traits nowadays that it can't fully be learned in a book. You can understand the systems theory, but ultimately it comes down to submersing yourself in a field. And all entrepreneurs that are consistent for a long period of time, whether they're aware of it or not, they're extremely curious, which allows them to cross-combine different subjects. Triple H and Vince McMahon, I don't know how much more work they're going to put into the WWF or WWE, and it doesn't really matter. But what does matter is that if you are currently an entrepreneur, or you're currently just building a small little side hustle, doing your own marketing, doing your own sales, it's good to keep an eye out for these different industries where a lot of different moving variables are involved and people have been consistent for a very, very long period of time. It's because Triple H and Vince McMahon, despite the fad of wrestling going up, down, they remained. And as they remained, they started to understand that entrepreneurs, it's not just a role, it's a mindset. And the best way to break down that mindset is that all entrepreneurs are systems thinkers. The only way that they became systems thinkers is not by reading a book, it's by cultivating that curiosity, lighting it up more and more, and allowing different components of the world to consistently keep combining. That's how entrepreneurs think. And no matter which field we're in, it's always imperative that we bring a little bit of that entrepreneurial spirit with us. At first, it starts off as a job role, then it turns into a mindset, but eventually it's the spirit that keeps cultivating more and more fire within us, allowing us to consistently connect more and more parts of the world. So unlock your inner entrepreneur, no matter which field you're in, and see how you can level up your creativity in the process. Thank you for joining the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel, and I'll catch you on the next episode.